Yo, what's up guys? Dorky here, and I'm going to be going over Prop Paladin super quick before we get into the build and how in depth it plays. So your main resource is 5 Holy Powers, which can be built from Judgment, Hammer of Wrath, Avenger Shield, and Hammer of Righteous. And this can be spent on either Word of Glory for healing yourself, which is based on the amount of HP you're missing, or Shield of Righteous to keep up your mitigation, which is generally what you want to be spending it on. Now you do have Shining Light, which every 5 of the Shield Righteous you spend, you do get 1 Word of Glory for free, which is your main use of Word of Glory. You generally don't want to use Word of Glory outside of this. As for your defensive cooldowns, we have Ardent Defender, and we have Guardians of the Ancient King. And if you really need to, you can use Divine Shield or Blessing of Protection. And as for your main offensive cooldown, it is Avenging Wrath. So as a paladin, you also have a lot of support abilities that you should take advantage of. You have Blessing of Freedom, you have Blessing of Protection, which can be used on allies as well, and Blessing of Sacrifice. And you can also off heal a lot by using Lay on Hand. This is on a really long cooldown, but you can fully heal someone once every 7 minutes. Alright, so for talents, this first row, every one of these are viable. Holy Shield is generally the best option defensively, but Readout is not bad too. Readout increases your damage and it gives you defensive options. Blessed Hammer, this is really useful for generating holy power outside of the pull. So like, before the pull begins, you can just spam your hammers and you can start building your holy power right away. Also, when you're kiting, this is super handy too. I would say if you're doing lower keys or if you don't have to worry about survival as much, you can definitely go Blessed Hammer, but at some point you might want to switch over to Holy Shield. I could see Readout having an option too. For second row, just always go First Avenger. This is by far the best for M+. Down here, these are all viable, it just depends on the situation. Blinding Light gives you an AoE disrupt, which is kind of nice. For this row, you can either go Unbreakable Spirits or Spell Warding. If you want the defensive option, you definitely want Unbreakable Spirits, but Spell Warding is super nice for helping out your team in many different ways. So I can definitely see a lot of Spell Warding being used. Down here, always go Divine Purpose. You gain so much more Holy Power in general, or usages of Holy Power abilities from Divine Purpose. For this row, Consecrated Ground generally for kiting and just being able to stand your consecration easier. This makes it super easy to kite as a paladin, but you can also go Hand of the Protector if you really want the extra off healing. When you're doing certain boss fights where your team is taking a ton of damage but you aren't, this is a great option. For the last line, you would almost always go Righteous Protector, but if you need the extra defensive button, you definitely want to go Final Stand. Final Stand is super huge for having an extra button as a way to live. So for Legendaries, the go-to option used to be Bulwark of the Righteous, just because you would do so much damage with this, especially when you're Divine Tolling and First Avenger. But I have found that ever since the nerf, there's so many times where you can just do similar damage with Avenger Shield Reset. Not only does this do great damage, but it's really solid defensively too, by like being able to constantly kick or just generating really large shields from First Avenger, and just the amount of holy power that you get from this. As for Covenants and Conduits, you always want to go Kyrian. Kyrian's really good for these potions, as well as Divine Toll is amazing. Soulbinds is the same, you usually want to go either Clea or Pelagos. Pelagos is my go-to option usually. So for defensive options, endurance ones, Resolute Defender is a must-have. By having Resolute Defender with certain talents like Righteous Protector and Unbreakable Spirit, you can actually line up your 1 minutes really well, or close to 1 minute CDs. For the second option, I would pick Royal Decree, which should have been over here, but this was originally a potency and it never really got changed in beta for me, so I managed to keep bringing clarity. But for the other two options, potencies ones, you definitely want Punish the Guilty, which increases your damage by a lot, and Vengeful Shock, I do feel it's between Vengeful Shock and Ringing Clarity for that last slot, but they're both pretty good. And as for stats, you want high haste with high mastery and high verse. It's very hard for Paladin right now to have all the stats they want. You basically want everything aside from crit. You want high haste so that you can generate a lot with your holy power. You want high mastery and verse because those are ways that you can live and just be much tankier. Okay, let's go over some gameplay real quick. So we're doing a 17 the other side fortified. This is extremely hard. This first pull usually just crushes tanks right away, especially on fortified. And we did pre-build a little bit of holy power. Always try to start a key with holy power if you can. You can hit something or hit a turnip bag if you want. Just something to generate some holy power before the key starts. You can start with 3 holy power. One of mine faded, but that's fine. Anyways, we're gonna open this pull. We generally want to start building right away, so I'm probably gonna use my shield on this one since this is a caster mob. So there it is, shield. And as I'm grouping the mobs up, you want to pop three buns in combination. You want to have Ardent Defender up, you want to have Wings up, and while it's up, you want to be spamming your Shield of Righteous with Divine Toe. That way, with all the holy power that you're spending, Ardent Defender gets a extended duration and the cooldown goes down because of the conduit that I went over earlier. Same with your wings too. When you have wings up, you can generate so much holy power and you can dump so much holy power, meaning that your wings will come back up really fast afterwards. And I like to line these up with my badge, which is on a 1-minute CD. So I get them grouped up, Ardent Defender, Shield Righteous, get it up right away. And I probably consecrate here. Okay, now I try to taunt this guy. They're all coming towards me now. This is where I probably want to be using Divine Toe. I'm taking massive amounts of damage, even with Consecrate, Ardent Defender, and Shield of Righteous up. So I dip pretty low, and then I get my Divine Toe out. This instantly gives me a pretty large absorb because of First Avenger. Now at this point, I'm just constantly dumping, and you can see my Ardent Defender timer is going up. So I do dip a little bit low here, which kind of scares me, and I instantly taunt myself with a Word of Glory. So as you can see, even when I'm having all these different CDs up, I have Consecrate up, I have Shield of Righteous, I have Ardent Defender, and I'm still taking massive amounts of damage from this pull. So at this point, you do not want to tank all these melees at once. So you want to start doing the whole Blood Decay cutting style where you just backpedaling a little bit and you're trying to take as little melees as you can. I get a little bit brave here. We do get a Chaos Nova to stun them all. But I should not have taken that many hits. I dip dangerously low, but I do have a Shining Light proc that lets me full heal. So there we go, full heal. And now we're pretty scared. This big dude is enraged and we have all these mobs back here that can't melee us. I should be running here, but I'm feeling a little bit brave. Okay, so yeah, I start running here. And we're just tanking 1 or 2 mobs at a time at most. Keeping them in the Consecrate, you know, try to keep them slowed. Trying to help our Fire Mage out since he wants to keep him in the Flame Patch. And we're about to end this pull fairly safe. Did have a really rough start. I probably should have started cutting a little bit earlier, but we're looking fine. I could have popped wall in this pull, but in this dungeon specifically, the very next pull is extremely dangerous too, and it would be ideal if you can have something large defensively for that. But yeah, that is about it. So let's look at our damage again. We go in, shields are up, pop all my 1 minutes, drop Consecrate, and then we're trying to just spam shields for Avengers. Now this might look like a lot of healing, but a lot of it's coming from my massive absorbs at the start. And I happen to get a really large Word of Glory off. So generally in these pulls, you just want to be taking as little damage as possible and just constantly do damage while kiting. Like as you can see, Prop Paladin damage is extremely high. But yeah, that is it for Prop Paladin gameplay. And thank you all for watching. Searching for Consecrate still, holy.
New birds, new birds.
Yeah, don't pull those birds. This is so easy.
What are
Fuck you!
You walked off the edge, man.
Man.
I didn't get the edge.
Are you kidding me?
Dorky's like compiling clips for this dungeon.
No.
Man, this is so easy.
Oh
Walk off the edge instantly. What the?
Yo, were you there
You're a
yesterday when you
paid
walked off
actor.
the